Shalom and welcome to another episode in our ongoing series called Faith Journeys with God in the Land. Today we're at Herodium, a palace fortress built by Herod the Great, but we want to be talking about God's perfect timing in our faith walk with Him. Behind me is the small theater that was built here at this place on one of the slopes of this palace fortress, built by Herod the Great for the purpose of being able to retreat to either this one or the one he built at Machaerus or the one at Masada. This is Herod the Great. This is the Herod that ruled the land of Judah when Jesus was born. He reigned from 37 to 4 BC, 37 to 4, and he supervised many building projects. Not only these palace fortresses, but the temple in Jerusalem, built beginning in 20 BC. Caesarea, a 12-year project beginning in 22 BC. You see, he was quite active in what he did. Herod the Great, I think, can teach us some lessons about our walk of faith. Now that might be an interesting statement because Herod the Great was not the kindest of people. He even killed his family members. He built these palace fortresses as a place to retreat to, just in case those who didn't like him, and that probably was a lot of people, so that he could find safety and refuge from them. But really what we want to talk about is in light of, or in the context of Herod the Great, who built this palace fortress. In fact, look at these new steps that go up to the top, through what is called the Royal Archway, up to the top. We call it the top of the bowl of this site. This was a hill that was expanded upward with 4 towers on the top. In fact, we'll try to make it up there. But what I want us to focus on is that small hill behind me, and behind that is the area of Bethlehem. Yes, the Bethlehem where Jesus was born. Now that whole area behind me looks like a continuation of houses and towns. But as we make our way up this stairway, who was born there other than Jesus? Born humbly, yet born as the King of Kings. And that's striking to me because when we talk about Herod the Great, he was the king of Judah. In fact, behind me there is where he would eventually be buried after he died in Jericho. So as we continue to make our way up these steps, keep in mind of what Paul would say in Galatians 4, verse 4. Because I think this is a great encouragement to our walk of faith. When we talk about God's perfect timing for all that we do. Galatians 4:4 says, "For just at the right time, God sent His Son." Wow. For just at the right time, God sent His Son. That means that God's redemptive plan was about to be fulfilled with the birth of Jesus. Time had come that God decided, okay, redemptive plan, prophesied, predicted, recorded in the Old Testament. Now the time was right. And born under the shadow of this King Herod, who had palace fortresses at Masada, Machaerus, built Caesarea, the temple. He was nothing compared to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, born in Bethlehem. By the way, we're looking and walking up this series of royal arches, and you can see them as I walk underneath them, and this will take us to the top of this palace fortress. There they are there. Herod the Great had frescoes all over the place. Look at those beautiful colors represented in this room. And yet, as great as he was a builder, although he probably didn't even pick up a hammer, he was known to be one who built all of these structures and sites. So let's complete our thought here as we take a look from the top of Herodium. We're going to walk up these steps. Here is behind me the bowl of the site. It was marked by 4 towers. One of them was larger than all the other 3. But I keep on coming back to this verse in Galatians. Chapter 4, verse 4. For just at the right time, God sent his Son. What does that mean for us in our faith walk? I think it means that for just at the right time, we were born. We have purpose. God knew all of this in advance. Just as Jesus was born just at the right time, each of us have purpose in our own lives, and whatever we do, we know that God watches over us, he directs us, he guides us, he encourages us. So over my shoulder is Bethlehem, where the King of Kings and Lord of Lords was born, right? In probably what's called a ketaluma, a guest room of some modest dwelling there, as Mary gives birth to this very Son of God. So looking at the hills of Bethlehem and the surrounding vicinity, I'm so glad that we can entrust our faith walk to God's care, even as we look towards Jerusalem. We're about 8 or 9 miles to the south and east of Jerusalem. This is the city, the capital, the ancient capital, and still, of course, the modern capital of Israel. But when Jesus was born, 5 miles south of Jerusalem, in a place called Bethlehem, and whereas we are a little further away from Jerusalem, and yet just over my shoulder is this area of the city of Bethlehem, don't ever doubt that God has control over your life. He knew you were going to be born. He knew when you were to be born, I should say. He knows exactly what we are going to encounter. It's just a matter of trusting in him and having him direct our steps. And I think that's encouraging because, let's face it, sometimes in our lives we really throw up our hands and go, wow, Lord, we don't know what to do. But our eyes are upon you. That's really a critical part of understanding that our walk of faith is not accidental. It's something that God has orchestrated before time. He created us and formed us, and then he knew when we were to be born. He knows and has given us purpose, and that's, I think, encouraging. Maybe you are feeling aimless or purposeless. Maybe you don't know why you were born. Maybe you look at this phrase, for just at the right time, God sent his son, and you're thinking, well, how does that apply to me? For just at the right time. Did God show up in my life? Well, he knows exactly who you are, he loves you, cares for you, and he simply invites you and me to trust every single step of our life to him. That's when we really discover our purpose, when we understand that God created us special and for a purpose. So these are some of the thoughts that we can use to encourage one another today here on top of Herodium, a great, great site. And what a view that we have of Jerusalem and the surrounding area of Bethlehem. So be encouraged today, and until next time, shalom.